All right, so in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about comparing decimals and how to tell which decimals are larger than the others, especially when they don't have the same name. And what I mean by that is this one is called 36 hundredths. It has 2 decimal places, so we call it hundredths. This one is called 8 tenths. 1 decimal place, it has going to be called 8 tenths. This one has 3 decimal places, and it's going to be thousandths, so we would say 405 thousandths. This one has 2 decimal places, so it is called 54 hundredths. So remember, what gives the decimal the name is going to be the very last number. Wherever that place value is, that's going to give the decimal its name. It's like its last name. It's the official name of that decimal. All right, and then we just basically read it as 36 hundredths, 8 tenths, 405 thousandths, and 54 hundredths. All right, but how do you tell which one's larger? Because they don't have the same place values as far as they're all different. They all have different final names, okay? So when we're looking at this, I would think that, if I didn't know, I would think that 8 would be the largest. So if I were to say, okay, least to greatest, 8 is going to be the largest. All right, so let's put that there. And that would be called 8 tenths, by the way. Then I would say, well, 36 is probably the next largest one. So let's say 36 is going to go here. And then we would have 54. And then lastly, we would have 405. All right, so that's the order I would put those in if I wasn't recognizing the fact that they all have different names. So one of the best strategies for putting decimals in order from least to greatest is to go ahead and give them all the same name. And what I mean by that is the largest decimal place we have, or the one with the most decimals, is going to be 405 thousandths. That's 3 decimal places. So I want to make sure they all have 3 decimal places. Right now this one only has 2, but if I add a 0, it's going to have 3. This one only has 1, but if I add 2 more zeros, now it has 3. This one already has 3, so I'm not going to add any zeros to that one. This one has 2 decimal places, so I'm only going to add 1. Now look how this changed the numbers. It didn't change the value of the numbers, it just changed their name. It's like simplifying it, or when we do with fractions, we just change the name, but the value is still the same. So we have 360 thousandths now, 800 thousandths, 405 thousandths, and 540 thousandths. Now it is so much easier to tell which numbers are actually the largest. So even down here, even if you give this a look, it gets almost confusing because they all have different decimal places. So if we name them all the same, make them all thousandths, it's much easier. Now we can say, okay, 360 is definitely the smallest. Okay, so I would put that here. And when I rewrite it though, I'm not going to keep that 0 on the end because it wasn't originally there, but it is helping me figure out which one is actually the smallest. Notice I thought 8 tenths was the smallest, actually 36 hundredths. Then I'm looking up here, and I would say 405 is the next smallest. And that is 405 thousandths. I didn't add any extra zeros on that, so I'm going to leave it the same. All right, then we come up here and I have, let's see, we've done that one, we've done that one. We have 540 thousandths or 800 thousandths. Well, we know 540 is actually going to be the next number if you're going in order. Okay, and again, we had added that extra 0, so when I rewrite it, I don't necessarily need to have that extra 0. That was just helping me write it. Okay, so now let's look at the next one. And the last one we have, we would put that at the very end. So check it out. How different is that? We had actually put this one first. This one is actually the largest number here because it actually is 800 thousandths when you add all the zeros. So we can go ahead and get rid of those. Okay, and then we said 36 hundredths was actually second. It's actually the smallest one. We have 405 thousandths. We actually said that was the largest, and it's actually the second smallest. Okay, And then we have 5400s, and you can see where that falls. So much easier if you actually fill in those extra place values and name them all the same.